Hey guys, how are you? I'm back with another video. Let's say a reaction video. And this is part 2 of reacting to me reading for the first time Pire Kamil. Yesterday I uploaded a video where I talked about the first chapter of Pire Kamil. And today I'm going to start with the second chapter. So, if you have watched that video, you all know what I think about the first chapter. I mean, I'm pissed with all the characters in the novel, especially the main characters, both the main characters like Salar and Imama. The only character that I liked was Rabia a bit, and that was it. Now, let's see if that changes in the second chapter. So at the beginning of second chapter we are told that there like we are told through Imama's father or mother, where she explains that why two of Imama's friend do not accept her as a Muslim. Okay, so she, I think, wait, let me get it right. um Yes, it was Imama's mother. So she explained to her daughter that they do not like the firqa that Imama belongs to in Islam. Now, I have no idea what a firqa is. And up like after I was so much in the novel when I got to know what they are, all are talking about. Like, otherwise, I was clueless. I thought that it was a case of Shia and Sunni Muslim. But then I was like, wait, I think both of them have been accepted in, like, both of them are allowed to visit Makkah and Medina, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. My knowledge is, like I said in the other video, my knowledge about this religion is like a drop in the ocean. Okay, so it's very little. Please, if I like falter somewhere, correct me in the comment section. But I thought this was a case of Shia and Sunni Muslim. uh, and but that was not the case. Later on I got to know, but up until now I was in my brains, I was having this idea that this is what they were talking about when they said that she belongs to a different firqa of Islam than her friends. What I liked about Imama in this chapter is that at the very beginning she says that why is religion an issue in friendship, right? She questions it like, why are we making this such a huge deal when it comes to friendship? Shouldn't, like, and I get it, like, shouldn't friendship be the basis of, like, should be on the basis of like mutual um likeness, mutual character, and not religion? Like, where does religion come in play? And that's why I like Imama when she said it, like, how is religion an issue? Then she also questions that because both of her friends never used to visit her house. Okay, um okay, now this is where I should give the spoiler warning, right? Like at the very beginning. So please proceed at your own. If you have not read the novel, if you have not heard the audiobook, please refrain. Otherwise, it would be a whole spoiler and all. And I don't want to do that. And I will be speaking in very detail about this novel. So, yeah, it's bound to happen that I give you the spoiler. So, you have been warned. Anyway, so like it has been told in the novel in this chapter that both of them do not visit Imama's house whenever she invites them. Okay, and she finds it really odd that these two girls are her best friends, and um like, why is it such an issue? So I understood her dilemma, where she was coming from, and that's why I liked her. Then the story progresses and I got to know that this is like between two sections of Islam. Okay, where one follows the teaching of Hazrat Muhammad. Wait, I do not want to get this wrong, guys, and I do not want to offend anyone, but like I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm just saying SAW, okay? So yeah. Then the second one is are the followers of a nabi, and then I do not want to offend them as well. Like I do not have that much knowledge on this religion. Like on I do have knowledge when it comes to this novel, but I do not have knowledge based on religion. So yeah, anyway, so this is like between two sections of Muslim, okay? So both of her, like both of Imama's friends are followers of Prophet Muhammad, SAW. And Imama is a follower of the Nabi that she's talking about. I have no idea up until now that who that Nabi is. So, with all due respect, yeah, it's not mentioned in the novel. Okay, then I also do not want to offend anyone when I say this, but the way Tahreem, if you have read the novel, you must know this. If the way Tahreem was like coming on to Imama, girl, I understand this where you are coming from, but shouldn't like you shouldn't hurt anybody's sentiments. Like one thing is that you do not accept them as a section of Muslim. You tell them that they have not accepted Islam. You do not consider them Muslim even. That is whole another thing. But you being rude just because you follow someone and they follow someone else, how is that like justified? Like I did not find this all right. Like that didn't sit right with me, because you being rude to another human being, like you have erred as well. Okay, so do not judge. That's my take from this. However, I did like Tahreem when she said, um, there is a difference between uh, observing rosa and observing a fast. Yes, rosa is for religious purposes. Fasting could be like I fast for scientific reasons. It's good for your health. That's it. Okay, and yes, there is like I'm fasting with an intention to get my body right. In Hinduism, in Islam, people usually fast when they practice those religion. They usually fast to appease God, to let's say for want something in return. So yeah, there is like these are two different things. Okay, then she goes on to say there is a difference between reading Quran, and then there is a difference between following Quran. But then again, when she was rude, like, girl, you're also not following Quran. I'm pretty sure that Quran does not teach anyone to be rude to another human being. I've not read Quran yet. I'll will read it. But yes, I'm pretty sure about that. Then the one thing that I did like what Tahreem said is a lot of Hindus and a lot of Christians also, just to know about Islam, they also read Quran Pak, right? And like I said about myself, I am very much interested in reading religious texts. So yeah, after I finish my Bhagavad Gita, I will continue with probably the Bible or Quran Pak. But yes, there is a difference, right? They want to know about the religion, and then you cannot consider them Muslim, right? Just because I am reading Quran Pak, I do not become a Muslim. I am reading it so it to just to see, just to know more about the religion. I'm reading it to see whether, like, if there are teachings that are good that I might want to practice, that's a good thing as well, right? And then she goes on to say, which I've liked very much, that a lot of Muslims also read a lot of other religious texts. So they do not become non-Muslims just because they read somebody else's text. And that is a very, very liberal thinking, very open thinking, very positive outlook on exchanging each other's religious practices, and what's good that are given in each other's religion. So yeah, I like that fact. Then the story progresses, and we get to know that Imama was reading about the actual Quran Pak and not the version that they were given when they belong to the different section of Muslim. Okay, so she was reading the actual Quran Pak, and Wasim, her brother, finds that, and he was like pissed about it, which I did not get. Like, again, why do you have such an issue? She's just trying to know other religion. It's not that bad. It shouldn't be an issue when your religion is based on faith, when your religion is based on truth. It shouldn't be an issue that somebody else is reading something, like a person belonging to your religion is reading something else. It shouldn't come like, I feel like everybody should be able to make a decision when it comes to religion. Nobody should force, like, you should read this, you should not read this, this is wrong, this is. Stop it. The religion is not made for such purposes. So I find it very odd when people do that. And I found this very odd when Wasim did that. And the one thing that I like later on loved when the chapter went progressed again is that Imama was. I like those people who make a very conscious decision on what they want to follow as going forward in their life. Like, just because you're born a Hindu, just because you're born a Muslim, does not mean that you cannot question your own religion, right? It shouldn't come across as a religion should not hold your thought process back, is what I feel. And everybody is within their rights to question a lot of things. So when she started questioning that, is this right, do I like um sort of resonate with the teachings that this religion that I'm born in is teaching me. She sort of formed her own opinion on which religion she wants to practice, and I like that so much about this novel. Like, there is this girl who is still a sort of young adult teenager, late teenager, and she is trying to get it right. Like, what is this that, like, I have been born in this country, I have been given this religion, and she was questioning it all. So that is an evidence of a working mind, sort of. That is something that I respect in a lot of people, if they form a well informed opinion. Then there comes Jalal Ansar. There's this entry of this very religious guy, and initially I thought that Imama changed her religion because of him, which was not the case. Later on I got to know. But Jalal Ansar, there is this, I don't know what it's called, but I liked it a lot. I'll read it for you. There are two lines. There is actually a whole, I think, 8 lines. But the two lines that I loved the most is, पूरे कद से मैं खड़ा हूँ तो ये तेरा है करम, मुझको झुकने नहीं देता है सहारा तेरा. So I liked it so much. Like, I still get goosebumps. And then there is a whole deal of like how Imama and Jalal stuff happened. Like, she went to his teachings, she went to whatever he was reciting, she liked his voice. It was a good, like, a minute factor that convinced her to change her religion, but we cannot say it was a major factor. And then again, there's Salar Sikandar. I breathe, and Salar Sikandar attempts a suicide. So yeah, he attempted suicide, and that's how I got to, like, it was confirmed that Wasim, Imama's brother, was friend of Salar, and then he attempted suicide. When he attempted suicide, he cut his wrist, and then Wasim calls Imama. In the whole tussle to keep his hand steady, Salar, was trying to snatch his hands away from the hold of everyone. And in that tussle, he accidentally sort of removes Amama's chadar, which Muslim women wear, and Amama got pissed, and my girl slapped him, which was like such a huge event. Like, I was waiting for this. I was rooting on somebody slapping Salar Sikandar. I was not like, I wanted to be in this book just so I could slap Salar Sikandar, if that makes sense. I wanted Salar's parent to slap the shit out of him. But then we got to know that he got slapped by Imama, and I was like, I'm yeah, you have got me hooked now. Then then again the story progresses, and we got to know that Salar found her in some bookshop that he was also frequenting, and he, instead of going to Wasim, he went to Imama, and he was like, I wanted to thank you, but you did a very unprofessional job. And she thought that he was talking about the slab, but he was not. He said that, the stitches were imperfect, whatever, like, it was a whole, you were very, like, not as skilled in your job, sort, he called her out. And she sort of said that, yeah, I should not have slapped you. And then she thought it in her head that you deserve it, and you deserve 10 more. So I was like, where is this fire coming from, girl? I was like, you were all into religious teaching. This does not look like, well, whatever, he deserved it, to be honest. She is right to do so. She's right to say so. And then there is this whole banter sort of thing, which goes on, where she is like that, yeah, I'll get professional. I mean, you're going to try another suicide attempt, right? So there are a lot of chances for me to learn how to be professional in the thing that I'm studying. Is still, I'm not a doctor. And there is this whole thing which I liked a lot, like, yeah, finally the story was, finally I was getting what the book talk girl were talking about. Then we get to know that, like, earlier in the chapters, it was told that Imama knows Salar's number because this guy stupidly has this printed in bold letters behind his car. So, like, she sort of remembered it. And when things went south, like when shit hit the roof, she called Salar for help. And I was like, okay, I so did not expect it. Like, I thought that he is going to be the last person, and I was not, like, seeing how they will end up together, because there is so much hate. This was like literal enemies to lovers sort of thing. And Umaira Ahmad did it absolutely right on that one. I'll give her that. And then there were like cute moments where Salar, when he got to know about Imama's whole problem, that she wanted to ask Jalal for marriage, she could not marry a man from her own firqa because she has accepted Islam. Um, and there were a lot of things that happened. And through it all, there was this cute moment when Salar understood the entire thing, and he very casually handed his phone to his house help and asked her to give it to Imama. And I thought that was very cute. Like, good job, Salar. There is a redemption arc coming for you. Yep. Then there is this whole revelation where Jalal Ansar, the man of God, apparently in this um, novel, he leaves Imama. Like, she was begging him to marry. First of all, get a grip, girl. Like, I understand there is this whole thing where you cannot, you know, marry another man, but do not beg another human to marry you. Like, how is this right? I was confused af. I was not getting her. And I was so pissed at Jalal, because if you are not going to see through your promises, if you're not going to stay a man of your word, shut up. Do not talk about God. Do not talk about anything. You're not even man enough to like stand your ground. You're not even man enough to um handle the situation like men. I was so pissed at him, and I was so pissed at Imama. Like, you do not just hear a voice of a person and just think that, oh my god, he's a man of God. No, girl, we live in like, start living. Imama was delusional af. Let's put it that way. And to be honest, I was like, this is going so good for Jalal and Imama. I thought that they would marry. And then somehow Jalal will die, and then she would have to marry Salar. And oh my god, I was making a whole story for myself. Then Imama, being like every other woman, she convinces somehow Salar to visit Jalal to convince him to marry her, because she was desperate, uh, in both ways. Like, when you think about this, like, when religion comes to play, she wanted to marry him, so that after marrying him, there is, I think, some law in Pakistan that would not like allow the parents to probably keep her with them anymore. I'm not aware of it that much, but I think that was the case. And then obviously she cannot marry Asjad, who was her fiance. So, but in all of this chaos, I like the fact that Salar actually went to Jalal to convince him, like, you have to marry her, dude. What are you doing? She has left her house. She wants to leave her house for you. Um, and all of that. So I like that fact that he did that for her. Maybe it was a whole adventurous stuff for him, but still, like, he's going to Lens. And again, like I said, the way he was trying to convince Jalal was, it seemed very genuine, to be honest. Like, he wanted to see this through, like what happens to all of this. Even though it is said multiple times that he was in it for adventure, I just liked it that he did that. Then there was again this book talk moment that everybody talks about continuously. Imama was the one who proposed Salar. She was like, "Will you marry me?" And he was like, "Okay, fine, kar leta hu." He was like, "Let's do it." He was very casual about it, because this was another adventure for him, and he was like wanting to play around with it. He, okay, let's see where this goes. I'll give this to Umaira Ahmad. She has written very good moments between Salar and Imama, even though they have like met 5 times. She has written very good moments. She has written very cute stuff. Like, there is a point where Salar is in call with Imama, and she starts crying, and he said that, just like, stop crying, otherwise I'm cutting the call. Like, don't cry, okay, otherwise I won't talk to you. So that was again very cute of him. But then again, Salar Sikandar being Salar Sikandar, it was not going to be that good that soon, and I expected it. And when Imama asked him to meet Jalal once again, he told her, he lied to her that he met him, and Jalal has married someone else. And she was shocked. She was shocked beyond it all. She was perplexed. It was like, and I get it. She loved him for whatever reason. She loved him, and she was like, she had this hope that um, there is this huge religious turmoil that is going on with her. She's willing to leave her family, and Jalal was her only hope. And then Salar saying that Jalal has married someone else. It It was something that crushed her. And then I thought that maybe Salar is the one who likes Imama, because why is he lying? What is there, like, what is in it for him? He won't get anything. Like, Imama hates him, but maybe he's trying to change for her. Maybe he's trying to um like marry her. Maybe he has fallen in love after that whole slap thing, because this was the first time somebody like put him in his place. But nothing of the sort happens, right? And then we get to know that Imama has left her home, and she just crossed the boundary. Like, their home was attached to each other, like mine is to my neighbors. And she crosses that boundary. She went to Salar's room and she asked for his help. She has packed some bags, some jewelry, some money, whatever she had. She went to Salar's house, and there's a point where she tells Salar what is happening, and then finally he is convinced to drop her off to Lahore. And there is a point where she was holding this bag, and he was like, uh, "No, give that to me. Like, I'll hold it for you." And that was a very sweet. Like I said, Umaira Ahmed is doing a good job writing those sweet tiny moments. So yeah, guys, that was part 2 and 3. We have covered 2 parts today, and I'll see you tomorrow with part 4, like chapter 4, part 3. Bye.